Hey, this is Byron Summerall. I'm with Ackland Avenue, and I'm here joined with some of my wonderful team members. I've got Camilo, Carlos, Renee, and Richard. We introduced ourselves in the first call, so if you want to know more about these guys, then you can watch the part one. Otherwise, we're going to go ahead and jump into part two of this call. We're talking about how to finish strong. And I'll go through a quick recap of what we talked about last time. We're talking about how to finish our sprints in a really strong way so that we can ensure better customer satisfaction, and we're also trying to make sure that we're having great developer satisfaction. So, does anybody remember the goal of the sprint?
Internal demo or a demo to a client.
A fantastic demo.
Awesome demo.
Fantastic,
Yes.
awesome demo, yes.
Spectacular demo. Yeah. And we want the client to feel really, really good about what we've done for them. So, and once again, I'll mention what I mentioned last time. We're talking about how Ackland Avenue does things, but we really want to be evangelists for this in the community, and we would really like to help our community, our developer community, in general, be better deliverers of fantastic demos, so that other teams can be as spectacular and fantastic as the Ackland Avenue team. So we're not just talking about things that Ackland Avenue does, but we want to be a shining light to everybody else out there. Okay, so really quick, I'm just going to breeze over these first few slides so that we can get into what we missed from last time. So one of the keys to the fantastic demo is the sprint planning. And the basic idea here is that we want to be showmen. We want to be picking cards and features that are going to contribute to a really great demo. If we feel like the demo script is going to be really boring, then we should feel responsible as sprint planners, developers and Scrum Masters and product owners alike. We should all feel responsible to make sure that the demo is not boring. We need to find ways to make it more interesting, try to tell stories with the features that we're working on, and of course respecting the client's priorities as far as their epic priorities. We always want to respect the client's epic priorities. Maybe that gives us some extra leeway inside of the epic to be able to work with our own priorities, especially thinking toward the demo. And sorry if I go a little too fast through some of these. If anybody has any questions or comments, just interrupt me. I can't see your video because I'm watching the slideshow. So just interrupt me. Don't worry. Another key to the fantastic demo is a single-minded focus. So developers, QA, Scrum Master, product owner, everybody that's working on the product should have a single-minded focus, and that is that demo. We're only developing things that contribute to the demo. We are trying to be really strict on ourselves, even though we like to be dreamers. We like to branch out and add new things and make suggestions and maybe even work on things without permission. Within reason, we can do that. You know, if we're talking about adding a spinner to something just to make the user experience better, we're probably talking about a 10 to 15 minute tops piece of work. So that's the kind of thing that we can probably add. But if it's more than that, then we're talking about something that's not really going to contribute to this demo. Because remember that the demo is planned at the beginning, and we've picked out these, let's say, 10 features. Those 10 features are what we are saying at the end of the sprint we're going to be able to demo. If we've added 5 more features just willy-nilly throughout the sprint, then we've kind of messed up the demo because we've now made the demo more complicated, or we might have put things in jeopardy. So every check-in should contribute to a fantastic demo. Yeah, go ahead, Camilo.
Yeah, talking about adding some spinners and some small UI changes or things that we can see, for example, that it can help the client to have like a greater demo, because in the guest more than expected. But I have seen also some clients that they don't use too care about those fancy stuff. They just wanted to have it like as simple as possible. For example, everything and and one example, for example, be like having a date input, and there is always, for example, uh, questions about those date inputs. Like for example, hey, I just want to show with a drop down and select the dates. Some other clients request, for example, I don't want that. I just want to type the dates, however I want, for example. And it could be some other examples are cared or doesn't know, for example, enough information until they see the stuff in the demo.
Right.
So are there any keys, for example, that the developers can focus on that? I am one of the things that I really like to do, for example, is try to make a better user experience. For example, like, hey, this should be go on the top or something like that, because I try to put in the feet of the client, for example, and try to understand them from their perspective, for example, for the demo.
Right. Yeah, and I think that's good. We should always try to put ourselves in the feet of the client. For instance, if we know that the client is extremely budget conscious, they only have enough money for one sprint, for instance, and so we're trying to create maybe a proof of concept for them. So knowing the more we know about what they really want is going to make us better developers, better demo planners. Um, and so when if we know that they're extremely tight on their budget, then we probably need to spend more time pushing out features that are going to bring them real value than spending time on things that may not bring value, knowing that they have a very short amount of time. Um, so that's kind of one type of customer or client that we can kind of keep an eye out for. The typical client, though, is they have a larger project. We're talking about a few weeks instead of just 1 week, or a few months instead of just a few weeks, and which means that there's a lot more room to be able to get the job done. We're not counting pennies, we're counting dollars, or instead of counting dollars, we're counting $100 bills, things like that. And if a project is larger, then happens is we I'll use your date example, your date input example. Maybe the client didn't say what kind of date input he wants. That means it's up to us to come up with something that's good for the demo. We don't have to spend a lot of extra time coming up with something elaborate, but we should definitely try to put some sort of date picker, for instance, on the date field. And then that allows the client at the demo to say, I'd like it to be this way. Because once they see how we thought we should do it, they can come up with a way that works better for them. But until we do that, it's not until we do that, they don't necessarily have a clear vision all the time of how it should be. Or maybe they just want it to be normal, and their definition of normal it might need to be defined, but we can say, okay, normally a date input should have a date picker. So that's kind of
Okay.
that's what we would say is normal. So what I would say is if it hasn't been defined and we're not trying to count every single penny that goes through our hands, then we should try to do the best, the thing that's going to demo the best, and within reason. So if we're talking about a data input, I would prefer, as a client, to see something that's been, some effort that's been put into making that date input more user friendly, like a date picker. If I see a date input that's just a text input, that's less interesting and less exciting for a demo. So just thinking from the showman, I'll go back. from the showman perspective, then I want that date input to be as good as I can make it within reason, which includes whatever simple date picker I can put on it. Okay, single-minded focus. So everybody, this is kind of, we're just breezing over this really fast. Everybody's thinking about the same thing. I kind of picture a group of soldiers going into battle, and everybody is shouting the same battle cry. So for us, as people that are working toward the demo, we should be shouting demo, 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 and we're all fighting for the same cause. So everything that we do, every check-in should contribute to the fantastic demo. Every stand-up meeting should be getting us ready for that demo. QA is putting themselves in the client's shoes. Quick turnaround at every step, and then we're all working end to end. We're not leaving anything half done. So single-minded focus, getting us to that demo. All right, so that gets us back to where we left off from the last time. So now we're talking about new stuff now. The internal demo. This is something that I don't know whether Ackland Avenue was the first to do this, but we definitely, for us, we invented this. This is something that we came up with on our own. It's not necessarily part of the Scrum process, even though we do try to follow Scrum. This is our chance as developers to show our product owner what we've done over the past sprint. So the developers take ownership of their work in this case, in this internal demo. The developers, with the help of the Scrum Master, are planning this demo. Of course, it was planned 2 weeks before at the sprint planning meeting, but this is I think maybe even in the past we've let the Scrum Master do all the work of the internal demo, but this kind of needs to change, because even in Scrum says that the developers are delivering the internal demo. It's kind of like our chance to show what a great job we did. So the developers are, yes, go ahead.
Who should lead this internal demo?
I would say that the Scrum Master needs to schedule it with the product owner, and probably the Scrum Master should kick it off. But at some point, I would say the Scrum Master needs to pass it off to the developers, so that the developers have a chance to take ownership of their work, and yeah, showing what they've done in the past 2 weeks.
And what is the role of the QAs in this internal demo?
Well,
or what should be the role?
It's
stakeholders. Just
yeah, I would say stakeholders, because they're kind of working between the PO and the developers, kind of as a liaison in this case, putting themselves in the shoes of the product owner. So yeah, they would be stakeholders. They would be audience.
So I have a question.
Okay.
So let's say that, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 developers worked on this internal demo.
Mm-hmm.
So do you think that all four of them should be part of the demo, or just one of them take the lead and explain all of them?
That's a great question. I would say that between the developers that are working on the project, they should be able to choose who's going to demo which piece. Very possible that that one developer took ownership of a feature, and that developer would be the most appropriate person to show off the feature, as opposed to somebody that hasn't ever touched it, and so they're just kind of learning about it at the last minute. It would make sense to me if the developer who worked on it could develop it, or the team can just choose. You know, maybe one person has better presenting skills. Maybe the team says, well, Wanose has never delivered a demo, so now it's his turn. You know, that's kind of up to the developers, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's part of the team to be self-organized, and they can decide. Me as a Scrum Master, I have normally scheduled the demos and tried to take the leads. But for example, there have been times during the some internal demos, for example, that I have not get time, for example, to be prepared for manage all the demo. For example, I don't have ready like in a script for that. So that's when I go ahead and ask one of the developers, for example, to give me an extra hand on that. But normally in this case, I try to take the lead, build like a reasonable script. And if I get to the point, for example, that there is one card that I don't have enough information, or or I don't know, for example, what's going on with that, I probably just ask the dev that working on that, or the product owner, or one of the QA guys to give me more input about, for example.
Yeah, yeah, that's excellent. Um, you could also think of it from the showman perspective. So, is it more interesting for four people to deliver different parts of a demo, or is it more interesting for one person to handle all of it? Remember that we're trying to wow not just the client in this case, but the internal demo. The main person in the audience is that product owner. So in Ackland Avenue, we have two product owners that could be working on a project. We have Nathaniel and we have Deanna. So I'm thinking about how can I knock the socks off of Deanna? How can I make her really, really happy, excited about this? And so that might be four different people presenting, and kind of like bouncing off, like popcorn bouncing off of each other, and or it could just be one person. That's, like Camilo said, self-organizing. We try to have self-organizing as much as possible. So you as developers can choose.
I have a question, but related with the
Okay.
internal demo. I
Yeah.
know that the internal demo should be before the client demo,
Yes.
but what is the best time that we should have our internal demo? I mean, I know that I will have some bugs that I need to fix. So maybe the internal demo should be 2 days before the client demo, or 1 day,
Yeah, good
or
question. Excellent question. We're going to talk about the client demo in just a moment, but the internal demo, we should have at least 2 days before the client demo. And when I say 2 days, I'm talking about 2 work days, because after the internal demo, our product owner is going to give feedback and suggestions based on what he or she thinks needs to be done to improve the demo for the client. And this might be, like spelling error here, add a spinner here, there's a bug here, things like that. So
so.
that should be at least 2 days, and it should be 2 working days. We're not talking about Saturday and Sunday because we don't work on Saturday and Sunday as a rule. So that should be, internal demos on Friday. That means the client demo would be on Wednesday because we need Monday and Tuesday to be able to fix those bugs.
So no matter if we are already, if we didn't finish all the cards that we need to
Yeah,
deliver into this
because
sprint.
actually that gives me a good segue into one of the next things that I wanted to say is that we want to stop while we're ahead. And what I mean by that is right before that internal demo, we need to use our Git skills, and we need to create a branch off of develop. Get the current state of develop into a safe place so that it can be used for release deployment or release preparation. So we usually call that release. So we're developing, and on the develop branch, we check out from develop and create a new branch called release. And that release branch allows us to have the internal demo on on the deployment from that release branch, and it allows us to make hot fixes and make improvements or whatever on that release branch. And that way, any cards that were not finished yet would still be. It's still possible to work on those. If we weren't able to finish all the cards for a demo, it's sad sometimes that we overestimated the time for this or that, but or underestimated a card. But that shouldn't like kill our demo, and we definitely can't keep on working on that up until the time when it's time for the client demo. That would wreck a demo. So we keep on developing on that in the develop branch, and then have that release branch ready to help us prepare for the release. Release also being client demo. Okay, back to audience. The audience of this internal demo is Ackland Avenue's product owner, and we at Ackland Avenue we have the idea of a proxy product owner, which is also kind of like outside of Scrum a little bit, but we do that because we have two cultures working on one project, and the culture in Honduras takes us to a certain point, and then the culture in the United States takes us to a certain point. We meet in the middle, and with our product owner here in the States, we're able to get something a little bit closer to what the clients here in the States are looking for. Speaking of clients, for the internal demo, just in case anybody ever gets a wild hair, we never invite clients to an internal demo. Why is that? Because we don't ever want a client to see something that's not even halfway finished, but a little bit unfinished or with some bugs. So this internal demo,
not very polished. Not very polished.
Yeah. Because this internal demo gives us a chance to double check with our product owner and polish a little bit more to get it ready for the client. So that's why we don't invite the clients to the internal demo. We want them to see 100% perfection and awesomeness. And in the internal demo, it's actually allowed for a bug to appear. It's okay. It's not the end of the world. It is, on the other hand, kind of like the end of the world to have an error or a bug in the client demo. It's a cardinal sin. But we can have those kinds of things in the internal demo, and those extra 2 days gives us time to fix those things before the client demo.
I have a question.
Okay.
So we shouldn't invite clients to the internal demo, right? So do you think it's a good idea to invite maybe other members of the team, maybe some others that are working on another project, maybe just to pick on the internal demo?
Yeah, I think for internally, the more the merrier. Except when, and this is like an Ackland Avenue thing, if everybody's working hard on a project, they may not be able to. They may say, I'm working toward my own demo. I can't. I don't have enough time. But if other team members do have time, I mean, invite them. If they can join, awesome. If they can't, then that's okay too. I enjoy being part of internal demos when I can. So feel free to invite me anytime. Colin too. I mean, if Colin's the CEO and he's got a lot of things going on, but if he can join, I'm sure he would enjoy a client demo, and he might be able to contribute to whatever feedback and suggestions make it even better. Who knows?
Okay.
So yeah, good question. So back to the Git branching. If there happens to be like nothing, no feedback, like everything came in perfect in the internal demo and there are no changes, which is almost never the case, but sometimes I suppose it's possible. So if that is the case, then by all means work on something else. If you've got other things that you're still trying to work on, or if there's a card that wasn't finished for the demo, you can keep on working on it in the develop branch, and you don't have to worry about it because that's going to not going to affect demo prep. It's not going to affect that release.
Baron?
Yes.
I know that from the internal demo will come some card or some box cards, or as we call hot fixes, right?
Mm-hmm.
But imagine that if we have some remaining cards for this sprint and we have box cards to hotfix all of the problem that we just see in the internal demo, what is the priority of the sprint? The hotfixes that come from the internal demo, or the remaining card for the sprint?
That's a good question. That's kind of a thing. That's something that's going to be handled by the team on a and by the product owner on a sprint by sprint basis, because sometimes the feedback from a demo, internal demo, might not get prioritized very high. I mean, maybe the product owner says, well, it'd be nice to have this. Well, that might be a card that goes on the backlog, but it might not necessarily be something that needs to be worked on right this moment. And that's something that the product owner and the Scrum Master can work together to determine.
Okay.
So it's not everything. Not every single suggestion is so high priority that it needs to be worked on before the client demo. Oh, another thing is that when it's time for that client demo, you know what? I'll mention that in just a few minutes when we get to the client demo part.
Okay.
So let's see, what else? The internal demo, I would really like it, and this is Ackland Avenue, but it's also, I think this would be for anybody in the community, a good recommendation, is to record those internal demos. Now everybody in Ackland Avenue is remote, so we're all using Google Hangouts and sometimes Join Me and different tools to help us be able to be in the same place at the same time together. So for us, it's extremely easy to record these demos. We don't have to have a camera. We don't have to have special equipment. We just turn on Hangouts on air, like what we're doing right now. And so for our internal demos, since we're already on a Hangout, we need to be in an on-air Hangout when possible. And those on-air Hangouts should be recorded so that other people, if they can't attend, they can watch, or we can have that for later on for training purposes, or if there's something that we want to improve about a process, then we've got stuff that we can work with. So you Scrum Masters, as you are planning for these demos, make sure that you're setting up on-air Hangouts and not just regular Hangouts. Make sure that you're broadcasting so that they can be enjoyed by other people.
Okay, but I have a question. When you I know that maybe I could touch a topic from the client demo, but I know that the recommendation is that maybe we should have a client demo every sprint, correct? But maybe the client demo is after 2 or 3 sprint. I just guessing. But what about the internal demo? It should be before the end of each sprint, or it could take like 2 sprint, or what is the recommendation?
Well, for us, our internal demo will always be at the end of a sprint, and that's not affected by the client. We can, if the client for some reason moves off to, of course they pay us first, but they move off to Brazil and we lose contact with them for a few months. They told us they're coming back. We've already got our invoices paid, so we're just working on their stuff. Maybe we never hear from them. That would be really sad, and it would actually kind of it would hurt their ability to give us feedback. But us as an internal team, we don't sacrifice those internal demos. They're still very, very important to us. So at that point, we would consider our internal product owner as the actual product owner of their client, and we wouldn't worry too much about as a developer team, we wouldn't worry too much about the client demos. And that's actually a good. Let's see. I don't have a slide for the client demo, so I'll speak to the client demo just a little bit before we move on to the sprint retrospective. So the client demo for the Scrum process is extremely important because it gives us the feedback we need to know that we are doing a good job, that we're hitting the target, and really the goal of the entire sprint is realized in that client demo. Everything that has been done over the past 2 weeks or the past sprint has contributed to this moment. and it's our chance to wow the client. So this is typically where one of our product owners goes to our client's office, if possible. If not, then they'll do a hangout, and it's really intimate, and it's close up, and they're able to show the client what we've done, let the client click around, try things out. But it's our chance to really wow that client. So by this time, we've already passed through the internal demo. We've already passed through a round of feedback changes, bug fixes, and at this point, the product should be just spot on target. The PO is going to schedule this demo. At this point, the Scrum Master doesn't have to worry about it. The devs don't have to worry about it. We actually might even continue with the next sprint. We might still be working on the next phase of work. So we might not even notice when this client demo happens. But when the client demo is finished, what the PO does is he or she comes back to our team and says, here's what the client said. Or what I've seen a lot of times in some of our projects is that the PO comes back and says, I just had a demo with the client. They're very happy. Keep up the good work. And zero feedback, zero changes, which is good. That means that our product owners are doing a good job of putting themselves in the feet of the client, and our QA is being doing a good job of finding those bugs and discrepancies, and our devs are doing a good job of following the requirements. Go ahead.
I have a question.
Okay. Go ahead.
How long should we wait until the product owner gives the entire team some feedback on how the client demo went? I would assume that the sooner the better, because in that case, for example, if the client found a bug or something that we hadn't considered, maybe QA could add it to its list to consider additional scenarios for a specific test case.
Yeah, you're right. So obviously the sooner the better. And that, I mean, if we could get it before the next sprint planning meeting, that's even better. That's really talking about a short feedback loop from the client to us. But if that doesn't happen, then we just keep on trucking. We don't necessarily stop and wait for that. If the client comes up with a bug, if there's something found in production that's environmental based, or heaven forbid we let something through that we didn't notice, then we just the product owner is going to create that, or product owner or QA will work together to create that bug in our project management system. It'll get prioritized. We'll add it somehow to if it needs to happen in the next sprint as quickly as possible, then we'll either do a hot fix on production, or we'll just add a card to the current sprint, let it get rolled out at the next release. That's kind of like a up to the team kind of thing. We can let the team work that out and decide what they want to do. If the bug is going to take 3 points to fix, 3 effort points, then that might mean that we need to take away 3 effort points from the sprint. Sacrifice a card in order to fix the bug. That's totally acceptable. Does that answer your question, Carlos?
Yes, it does. Thanks for the feedback.
All right, Renee, what were you thinking?
I was trying to understand with the thing that you mentioned about the client demo, that the responsible of the client demo should be the product owner. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay. What happen if for some reason the product owner invite us to a client demo? What should be our role as a developer or as a Scrum Master?
Should that ever happen, or?
It might. It very well might, and it has, and it does. So that's not completely unheard of.
Yeah, I think it's not a bad idea from time to time for someone else to join the demo.
Yeah. That happens on kind of like an as-needed basis. If there's maybe some really complicated piece of technology or some sort of discussion that needs to happen between the client and one of our devs, because maybe gets lost in translation in the product owner not being a developer. So I don't know, lots of different scenarios where that might be the case. And If you get invited to a client demo, then brush your hair, brush your teeth, and enjoy. It's not always the case, but should be a rare pleasure. Most of our clients are a pleasure to talk to. So
Just take a shower before the demo, the client
yeah,
demo.
because
Yeah.
that hangout has the smell emitter, which is not something that should ever be invented. By the way, no one should ever invent a smell emitter. Or if they do, we need to be able to adjust it. I always smell like roses.
Sure.
Yeah. So, okay, feedback from the client demo is collected, prioritized, and added to the backlog. If it's a bug, then it's going to be prioritized maybe immediately, and might go into the current sprint. And like I said before, something might be sacrificed to make room for that. And then the PO reports back to the Scrum Master and the devs with the client's reactions. That's really the client demo. That's the whole thing. And like I said before, the goal of every sprint is that fantastic demo. Well, the internal demo that we talked about just a few minutes ago contributes to that fantastic demo. It's a big key. And if we didn't have the internal demo, which we didn't have years ago, we didn't have the internal demo. We just went straight into the client demo, and we learned some lessons from that. It's very important to have that kind of that checkpoint to stop and say, okay, are we finished? Are we ready? And most of the time we find that we're not, because we've been in the weeds so long. We've been kind of in the forest, and we miss the small details, or we miss the larger details, because we've been in the very, very small details for so long. So that internal demo gives us a chance to zoom out, look at the whole big picture all at once again, and then be able to see the places where there are disconnects. And then the client demo should just be a retelling of that same story. And in fact, what I would say is that your internal demo that you give to our product owner is you're giving that product owner ideas for how he or she can present it to the client. This is your chance to show them how you think they should give the demo, how they should deliver it to the client. Okay, so
I have one more question just to
go ahead.
finish. Okay, so let's say, do you think? Do you think it's a good idea to limit demos? So just as an example, maybe the team did a fantastic job, and that fantastic job actually triggers either the client or the members to start talking about some ideas that maybe were not considered, and I don't know, maybe you don't keep track of time, and
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you think we should limit them, or?
So I wouldn't, considering that as a software development shop like us, it's actually a really good thing for us when the client starts dreaming and coming up with new ideas, because that means that we get to spend more time with them developing a product, which means more profit. Not that that's the whole point of everything, but it is a good thing in the long run for us if the client is dreaming. So in a client demo, I'll be the last person to say, hey, you need to stop talking. We've reached our limit for this meeting with you. Stop dreaming. Stop coming up with more ideas. Stop coming up with more ways to give us money. So I'm never going to do that. And I doubt that our product owners would do that either. However, in a client demo, in an internal demo, that might be the case. And that's where I think the Scrum Master can step in and say, hey, can we take that offline, or let's have a separate meeting just between that person who's got all the great ideas and the product owner, and let them two together work through those great ideas. And because the developers who are just trying to show what they've done, those developers might have some other things that they need to be doing instead of sitting in a really long meeting. We're not trying to have like super long meetings. So yeah, I respect what you're trying to say. What you're aiming at is called time boxing. We should be time boxing the internal demos.
Okay.
What the time limit is, I have no clue. That's something that as a team you all can decide. And typically we aim at an hour, right? So the Scrum Master can maybe schedule the meeting for an hour, and if it gets up to the limit of that hour, then the Scrum Master can maybe remind all the players to say, hey, we got 2 minutes left, something like that. Uh, Obviously, the point of a client demo is not to get all the great ideas out there. It's more to look at the things that have been done and and dream about what could be done to make this fixed and bug free and polished. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Cool. All right, so let's talk about the sprint retrospective. All right, this is something that doesn't affect sprint number one, like as if we just finished sprint number one. It doesn't affect sprint number one. It affects sprint number two. So our sprint retrospective is our chance to find what was really great about our process and about what we did, about what we learned, and find out what was wrong, what didn't work out very well, fix what's broken, repeat what works. By doing that, we are constantly improving as people, as a team, and as a company. If we can make that sprint retrospective really good, where we're all very, very honest with each other, and also very bold in pointing out things that maybe didn't go very well, we can improve, and we're going to make the next sprint even better. So I didn't have a whole lot of things to say about that, but is there anybody that wants to say anything else about the sprint retrospective?
Okay, I was learning about the sprint retrospective, and all the thing is that all the developers, QAs, product owner, and Scrum Master should share and have the free to share anything that they think. So because maybe we are ashamed of say something. So the key for a good sprint retrospective is that anyone feel free to share his ideas, and don't be afraid of what the other people will say about that.
Yeah, yeah. I would say that it kind of boils down to trust. Do I trust Renee? Like if I want to say something about something that Renee did, do I trust that Renee will not hate me for saying that?
Yeah.
And then Renee, I also want to honor Renee, uh, and sorry, Renee needs to honor my trust by not hating me. I need to honor Renee by trusting him. Well, that gets complicated. I need to trust everybody.
Yeah. And the thing is, avoid the people that only one person participating in the sprint retrospective, because imagine that we are in a sprint retrospective, and maybe just Byron is talking about what he think about that, and maybe Carlos is quiet, and he didn't share his thoughts, be, something like that. In the sprint retrospective, the idea is that everyone is available to share his ideas, and should say at least something.
Yeah, it's a safe
That's what
place.
I think. Yeah. So what is the recommendation for have a good sprint retrospective? I mean, to for that the depth feel, or the QAs or the pro owner feels free to share his ideas.
From my personal stand view, I think we should always start pulling off the things that were done correctly, and then touch upon the topic of improvement. Because if we start talking first about the negative aspects or the things that went bad, I think that puts the group in a bad move. So in my case, when I give feedback, I always like to start with what went right, and then what could be improved.
Yeah, yeah. It's like giving somebody a flower before slapping him in the face.
Exactly.
You slapped me in the face, but you gave me a flower. I don't. So I don't think that expressing negative feedback has to be necessarily. I mean, this is all kind of like us as people. It doesn't have to be a slap in the face, though. So I get occasionally, not all the time, but I get negative feedback on things, and I know that that's like a normal human being thing, and I also know that I want to constantly improve as a person. So if I get negative feedback, I try to put myself in the other person's shoes, and I try to be appreciative of what they said. So that might be one way recommendation for everybody going into a sprint retrospective. Not that there's going to be a lot of things wrong, but maybe there were things wrong, and maybe it was caused by a person, or maybe it wasn't.
Yeah, and I think it's good to always give that type of feedback, because I think if someone gives you a point of input on something on which you failed or could do better, it means they care about you, because otherwise they wouldn't be telling you that. So it's good to always take the feedback.
Yeah. I would say though, most of the time, the feedback that we talk about in a sprint is going to be more about like process and the code and something that wasn't very well estimated, stuff like that. I think that most of the time, well, I can speak for Ackland Avenue because everybody that works at Ackland Avenue has a certain minimum level of coolness. So we don't have any jerks in our company. And that's a recommendation for you out there in the community. If you're a jerk, stop being a jerk. And if you're a team like Ackland Avenue, don't hire jerks. But that way, when we go into a sprint retrospective like this, there are no jerks. We're all looking for constant improvement, and we're just trying to improve as people, as company, as a company, as professionals. Yeah. Sprint retrospective is extremely good for the next sprint. Okay, so here's something else that is a key to a fantastic demo, but it doesn't affect sprint number 1. It affects next sprint number 2. So we want to estimate the remaining work using the knowledge that we've gained as developers, as product owner, Scrum Master, everybody. We're going to re-estimate the remaining work. Why in the world should we do that? Well, what we've found is that that the client doesn't always have, they're working full-time jobs, or they've got their own things going on. This software project is maybe very important to them, but it's not the most. It's not the thing that's occupying all of their thoughts during the day. So at the end of a sprint, we re-estimate so that we can give the client an idea of how much time is left on the project, what changed, is there anything that got more complicated during a sprint, or was anything behind, and that's going to add on more time to the end of the project, or do we think, oh, well, we'll catch up at the end or in the middle. This is the responsibility really of the product owner, because this is a conversation that the product owner is going to have with the client, maybe during that client demo or at the end of the client demo. So the product owner might come to the team and ask, hey, how is anything changing? Or you all, as developers, as QA, you might be able to go back to the product owner and say, hey, this thing that we estimated 2 weeks ago, it's not an 8. It's more like a 28. That kind of thing is very, very appropriate, because what that does is it gives the product owner the information that he or she needs to be able to go back to the client and say, hey, this project is going really well, but it's going to take an extra week or something like that.
Baron?
Yeah, go ahead.
So this is something that should be made before the beginning of the next sprint, correct? So the re-estimation, we should not consider the re-estimation during the sprint, correct?
Not necessarily. Like I was saying, the developers, any day during the sprint. Doesn't matter when. Anybody can see something that maybe we estimated it a few weeks ago, and we realize now that we know more about the product, more about the client, more about the third-party tools or whatever, this is going to take a lot longer than we thought, or this is going to take a lot less time than we thought.
What about
anybody can say that to the product owner.
Yeah. What about if I work in a card and the card say that it is 5 points, but I realize that the card is just 3 points? So should I able to estimate out that card?
Not in the sprint.
I mean, not in a sprint. Okay, correct.
Not in the current sprint. So we're working 10 cards during the course of a sprint. During that sprint, those 10 cards, the estimates don't change. That's kind of a Scrum thing. We just don't change those. But if we're looking at cards that have not yet gone into the sprint, then we can go back to the PO and say, hey, this is looking a lot easier than it was before, or this is looking a lot harder than we thought before. Same thing can be said about you're in the course of a sprint. Something that was a 15. Really, you finished it in 5 minutes because you didn't realize how easy it really was. Well, that 15 went down to like a 1. Well, you can go back. I mean, that's significant. You can go back to the product owner and say, "Hey, we just finished this huge card early, way early. So we're probably going to be looking at other cards. This is also the Scrum Master gets involved. We're going to be looking at other cards that we can pull in. That means we're going to be able to finish a little bit earlier than we thought. So then the product owner has the option to go to the client if he wants to and say, we just finished this stuff a lot faster than we thought. We're going to be earlier than your delivery time. That's a possibility. Sometimes we decide not to do that because we're a little gun shy. We think, okay, we finished early. That's going to give us time to make up on something else. So that's why I say it's up to the product owner. The product owner, depending on the relationship that we have with the client, might decide to tell the client that we can be finished early, giving the client the option to add more features if he wants to, or we might hang on to that time, that early delivery, just in case there's, as a buffer, just in case there's something else that happens that maybe takes longer. Totally up to the product owner at that point, because he or she is the person that's managing the relationship between the company and the client. So the reason why we do this re-estimate is we don't want to have any surprises at all for the client. We want to keep the client completely informed. So as soon as we know that something's going to take longer, we should, especially at the re-estimate, we should let the client know. Well-managed expectations have a huge impact on client satisfaction. And if the client is super happy from the last sprint, it's going to be easier to wow them for the next sprint, for the next demo. So that's why I say that this re-estimate is a key to a fantastic demo. Not this demo, but the next. Because if the client is happy, it's like the pump has been primed. It's easier to I don't know if you understand the priming the pump analogy, but it's like where back in the old days you had a pipe that would go down into the ground, and you had a hand pump that you had to go up and down, up and down, up and down, and until water eventually comes out. And if someone was there at the pump 5 minutes before, then they've already pumped that water out. And so when you get there 5 minutes later, one pump, water comes out. It's easier for the water to come out. So if the client is already happy, you go into a client demo with that client, and the prime is pumped. They're ready to be happy again. So that makes it easier to have a better demo. What'd you say, Renee?
Yeah, because no, I'm agree with your comment about if we have a bad demo with the client, so the client expect a bad demo in the next.
Yeah, and we got to kind of recover,
sprint.
Right? We got to extra wow them for the next demo, so that we can just keep them happy all the time. All right. Well, so now we know how to finish strong. finish strong. Finishing a sprint strong means finishing a demo strong. And if we plan from the very beginning of the sprint to the very end of the sprint, and we're single-minded focus, and we're all shouting that same battle cry, then we're going to be on track, and we're going to be able to finish strong and wow the client, and everybody's happy. Well, guys, that concludes our training for this part of the Ackland Avenue process. If you're out in the community, I hope that you enjoyed learning a little bit about how Ackland Avenue makes clients happy. And if you're in Ackland Avenue, then get ready to be a part of a process that is an amazingly client wowing process. I didn't have a script for this, so I don't know what to say. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for your time.
Yeah.
Thank you, Byron.
Later.
Thanks to you, Byron.
Later, guys.